All right, well, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us for our brand new University Online MPH webinar today. My name is Sparky Mortimer. I'll be hosting today's festivities. And we're going to meet some actual for real life online MPH students to get a chance to meet them and hear more about their experience. So we'll introduce them here in a second. First, let's just quickly go over the agenda, what we're going to talk about. We'll interview these online MPH students with a handful of questions about what the program is like, what their experience has been like. So you'll get that first person perspective on what Brown's online MPH is all about. We'll also turn some time over to some folks from Brown on the academic and enrollment side to help us understand what makes Brown's online MPH unique, as well as go through the application checklist. You notice that there are going to be dates on the bottom throughout the webinar for the fall 2024 cohort. We've got a priority application date and a final application date coming up soon. And so we'll make sure that you're prepared with everything you need to know for your application. Then we will also have a live Q&A at the end. So you'll see the Q&A icon on your screen. Feel free to tap that at any time to submit your question. You don't have to wait till the end to submit it, and we will get those questions answered as best we can. So let's dig into who's presenting for us today. Joining us from the Brown side, we've got Jen Nazarino, Associate Director of the Online MPH program. She's been with it from the beginning, and we're always happy to have Jen on board with us. We also have Kim Pulaski, who is a Brown enrollment coach. And so Kim's job, as well as other enrollment coaches, is to help you navigate that and application process to set you up for success once you start in the program. We're also pleased to have two Brown students with us today who are in the online MPH as we speak. Kenzie, I'll start with you. Could you introduce yourself a little bit? Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yes. So hello, everyone. I'm Kinsley, and I'm a current online MPH student. I'll be finishing up in the summer, so I am a second year student. I have been attending and obtaining my MPH here in Houston. And my background was also in public health, had a bit of experience there before starting my OMPH here at Brown. And yeah, it's been a great journey so far, and I'm excited to finish it.
All right. Appreciate that. Thanks, Kenzie. Looking forward to hearing more from you as we go. And also joining us from the student side is Christian. So Christian, welcome. Tell us a bit more about yourself.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. So my name is Christian, and I'm also currently a second year online OMPH student here at Brown, and I'm finishing in the summer as well. I'm originally from Southern California, in Orange County, and I've spent a lot of my career in Los Angeles before moving over to Boston to work and be a student in this program. My background was previously on the medical track, and then I pivoted toward public health. And this program has been just a fantastic beginning to my public health career while I'm working near Brown. It's been an enjoyable experience, and I've really enjoyed meeting the faculty and my fellow students and going through this journey together.
All right. Great. Thanks, Christian. Appreciate that. All right. Well, let's dive into it. Before we get questions from our audience, I've got a few warm-up questions for you, Kensley and Christian, just to share your experience of what the Brown Online MPH program has been like. So, first question I have is simply, why did you choose Brown's online MPH? Why was Brown and why was online the right fit for you? So, Kensley, I'll start with you. How would you answer?
Yes, so for me, I ended up picking Brown for my online MPH program specifically because I did have a tie to Brown beforehand, doing a summer internship throughout my undergrad studies. And I fell in love with the campus and the people that I worked with there. It was a very inviting and welcoming community there. So I knew that I would want to consider it moving forward in my public health career and education. There are a lot of options. Don't get me wrong, I did consider other options as well, but I think overall the structure of Brown's online MPH program was the best option for me as a working professional as well. And I felt like with it being a new program, they would be very open to a lot of feedback, which is definitely the case. And they work with us to make the program better for every single cohort to come. And overall, I really liked that there would be 2 classes per semester, or if you could not do that amount of work throughout the semester, you could work with them to change that if your schedule didn't permit that. And it's very flexible. Faculty has been great throughout this program in terms of helping you and figuring out hours to meet with you if you can't take the traditional route. So yeah, that is why I ended up picking Brown's program.
Okay, great. Lots of great perspective there. Appreciate that. Christian, same question to you. What was it that made Brown's online MPH stand out and made you want to apply and enroll?
Yeah, I think there were a number of reasons for me that made the program attractive to me. For one, just knowing that I had the intention of having a full-time working schedule as well as balancing that with school. This program has that great flexibility in that um, you can do a lot of the coursework and even there are synchronous sessions, but even if your schedule is really busy with work, you can do a lot of the coursework asynchronously, and that allows one to balance their working life, other aspects of their life with school. So I think that's really awesome that's an option. I think also it's just its reputation and positioning in the New England region for me, wanting to come over here and work and live. And I'm only about 45 minutes or an hour away myself. And I've, studied and visited campus. I like to feel, the spirit and the energy of the campus and the school and everything. So uh, I think Brown, it's just such a beautiful campus and a wonderful university with so much history. So that was a very attractive. And then also, as far as the curriculum goes, for me, not coming in knowing where in public health I wanted to concentrate, this program, being a generalist one, allows you to explore public health as a whole and the different fields within it and everything, and then you can really dabble and see what you really like from there, and then take that with you as you decide where in public health you want to go to next. So those are some reasons.
Yeah, great course, etc. Absolutely. And Christian, you talked about that, kind of maintaining balance between school and work and life and all that. So that's actually the next question that we have. What are the things that you do to help maintain that? So, Christian, I'm going to start with you since you brought it up in your last answer. What does that balance look like for you, and how does Brown's Online MPH help make that possible?
Yeah, I think the program, the faculty, the curriculum developers have done a fantastic job of ensuring that students, if they are on the track of taking 2 courses per semester and still balancing that with other priorities, that they're able to do so, in a manageable way. Specifically, I think, yeah, for one, if I do have conflicts with like the synchronous sessions, the fact that I can access all the course materials that they're recorded, like the lectures, and then also readings and other videos and other resources. We're able to access those at any time to be able to complete what we need to complete within the confines of our schedules. So for me, I often spend, some of my weekday evenings, and then I spend a little more time on the weekends, obviously, when I have more time outside of work to really do the bulk of the work for this program. But yeah, it's manageable. Of course, you have to manage your time well. And I know people are busy with a lot of priorities, so you I think you get the hang of it, and the program staff and everybody are very supportive of your are very receptive to our concerns and needs too whenever students reach out and everything. So really helps it go pretty smoothly. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Appreciate that, Christian. All right, Kensley, same question. What does that work school life balance look like for you, and how does Brown help make that possible?
Yeah, so to echo what Christian was saying, pretty much if you do have a full-time job, I have had one throughout the whole program, And if you have a family, it's very doable if you are able to manage your own schedule effectively and work with faculty if you do have those situations come up where maybe you can't meet a deadline. And everyone has been very flexible and understanding because life does happen. For me, I have had semesters where I'm able to attend the sync sessions because it aligns with my schedule. Other semesters, not so much, just with work and things. So the ability to go and view recorded class sessions and be able to ask questions to professors whenever you have them has been really nice. And you do have your assignments weeks in advance, so you're able to go in and take care of everything. If you know that you have an important business trip coming up or something for work that you know you're going to have to dedicate most of your week to, you're able to go in and do things in advance to just make sure you stay on top of it. So I really do think that the way the program is set up does allow you to have a really nice work-life balance, especially if you do have a full-time job or a family.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of different circumstances out there in terms of what else students have going on in their lives. So appreciate both your perspectives on that. And so obviously this webinar, we're hosting a lot of students who are at different stages of the enrollment funnel. Maybe they've just requested information and they're still looking to apply. We could have some applicants in here waiting on admissions decisions. We could even have some students who are admitted, but they're kind of wondering what now to expect. Yeah, so if someone is maybe on the fence about this program or they're looking to learn more, what advice would you give to students who are maybe still in that decision-making process? Is this the right fit for me? What sort of things are important? So Kenzie, I'll go back to you to start. What advice would you give, especially to our attendees here who are, just eager to make an educated choice about this program? What would you tell them?
I would say, well, first off, definitely attend sessions like this to get a chance to speak to current students. And I would say to also reach out to faculty and program directors if you have more specific questions. There are a lot of programs, so definitely do your homework and know what you want out of your MPH before going in to know that the program is going to give you the things that you're hoping to obtain. So if you know that you want to do something very niche and very specific, maybe, pick a program that caters best to that. Um, but also I would say, as opposed to going on the website, speaking to students, really know yourself as a student and look at the curriculum and be real with yourself to know if that is something that you're able to balance with what you have going on. Um, yeah, and then just echoing what I said earlier, I think the best thing to do is speak to current students and faculty to get a more like insight of the program and ask specific questions that you might not be able to get from the website itself.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely great. Lots of different perspectives help make that decision that much more informed. Appreciate that. So speaking of different perspectives, Christian, what else would you add to that about advice to prospective students?
Uh, definitely. I think Kensley hit like so many important points there that I think I would also, recommend. Uh, for me, especially the information gathering by reaching out and having conversations with current students and faculty as well for specific questions. When you do that, I mean, you can really get an insider's perspective on just how the day-to-day or the week-to-week looks, and talk to people that have different types of schedules that they're balancing this program with, and just really asking more specific questions about the curriculum and yeah, the actual coursework and everything. So I think that is so valuable. And yeah, I think you really did hit like the most salient points that I would have shared as well. I think knowing yourself and what exactly you're looking for in a program. Obviously, if you're considering different formats like this one being online versus still thinking about full-time programs, then it's really just exactly engaging with current students, doing your homework on what you're looking to get out of a program, yeah, knowing yourself and your goals really well and continue to explore that so you can really see what program may be the best fit, as well as where you're going to be positioned physically, geographically as well. Like, I mean, this program allows you to be anywhere, but um, you can be thinking about that as well. If you want to have a different level of connection to the campus, that's something to consider as well. But yeah, so yeah, what I'll say is like I think I Kensley really hit the most important points, but hopefully I added something.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
no, I appreciate both your perspectives on these questions so far. We'll come back to you in a little bit with more questions from our audience. But first, I'm going to turn the time over to Jen, and I'm catching her mid-type because she's already eagerly answering questions that our audience has. Jen, I'll turn it over to you. Let's expound upon some of the things that Kensley and Christian have already brought up in terms of what makes Brown's online MPH so distinct and a program worth seeking out.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Sparky. So what we really try to do is implement case-based learning into our courses. So various case studies you can find in our leadership courses, to our social determinants of health, to our interventions and evaluation courses. And so that's really something we try to build on, and faculty meet together regularly to talk about how we look at these case studies in different ways. Like I teach a social structural determinants of health course. So how would my course think through a certain case study? And that might be different from a faculty member that's teaching leadership or communications. 100% online async courses. I did see in the chat, is it lonely? I mean, so again, just to think through that this program is built for working professionals that really value the asynchronous learning flexibility, but then also having the synchronous weekly sessions where you can meet with faculty, right? And those are recorded and optional, but highly, I know that Christian and Kensley do their best to come to our sync sessions, but they're recorded for them so that students will always be up to date on what we're doing on a weekly basis. So it's again geared and developed for graduate students that just have a busy work schedule and can't come to a class, physically to a class at like 12 o'clock in the afternoon or something, right? So the async modality really works for folks that are just trying to balance work, professional work, maybe family lives, and also getting their master's degree. Curriculum that prepares you for leadership, because our dean is Dean Ashish Jha, who I would argue is one of our strong public health leaders in the country. And he really has stepped up when it came to him being the COVID-19 communications coordinator over in Washington, D.C. He really thought it was critical and important to make sure that we implemented leadership courses into the curriculum, and it is these are required courses because we do want you to gain the skill sets to become a public health leader. And then in terms of price and tuition, we get it. Master's degrees are expensive, and we have tried to, we do look at our peers, other Ivies, and we've tried to be as competitive as possible and more affordable. So there you go.
Okay. Fantastic, Jen. Appreciate that. So again, we know that folks who are attending this webinar are at many different parts of the enrollment cycle. Still in the process of completing your application, or maybe you haven't started your application yet and you're not sure what steps to take. That's why we're going to bring in Kim. So Kim, walk us through this slide, walk us through that application checklist, and especially highlight any points that are particularly impactful for students to stand out as part of the application process.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Sparky. I appreciate that. And thank you, Kensley and Christian. How exciting. They're going to both graduate this year, which is so incredible. So kudos to both of you and for being pioneers in this particular program. So yeah, let's talk about this application. My role as an enrollment coach is to help address any questions or concerns that you have about the program, trying to determine if this is the right fit for you. And then if you decide to move forward, then helping you with your application process. So there's a few of us on the team. We are all super eager to discuss this with you. So when we reach out, let us know if we can be helpful to you or not. But basically, with your application, everybody has to have a bachelor's degree that's been completed, if in the US, from a regionally accredited university. If you're an international student, then we would definitely need a transcript evaluation from you. Now, the cool thing is we can actually use unofficial copies of your transcripts for your application process. So I know it says official transcripts on here, but the committee will review your application packet with unofficial copies of your transcripts. If you're accepted, at that point, you will be required to submit official copies of those transcripts. And then just jumping down to that very last checkpoint on there, the West transcript evaluation. This is for international students, but we will also accept transcript evaluations from ECE and SpanTrans. So you're not just limited to WES, although WES tends to be the most popular and I believe kind of the quickest to get that done. So in addition to your bachelor's degree, you do need 2 years of professional work experience prior to starting your program. So with a resume or a CV, whichever format you want to use, you'll have to submit that. You do need 3 letters of recommendation. Now, these can be like a combination of academic and professional. I tell people when I talk to them, you're going to want to choose 3 people who know you very well, people who are relevant and current in your life and are going to be able to really speak loudly on your behalf. So if you think about it, these letters are read very, very carefully by the committee as they review your packet. And the reason is they want to hear from people who know you, right? So the committee is getting your packet. They don't know you, but they want to hear some great things, some great qualities about your work ethic, your characteristics, what's going to make you a very strong student in this program. So I say all that to say choose wisely. That is just a cautionary comment. What else? Personal statement. So the personal statement is really an opportunity to share with the committee a little bit more about yourself on a very sort of personal, intimate kind of level. Obviously, they'll have your resume, they're going to have your transcripts, but they want to hear from you about why you're pursuing a master's in public health. What are your goals? Make sure you have some idea of what you want to do with public health. That may change over time. I think it was Kensley who kind of alluded to that, is that, you know, this is a broad program and super well-rounded, and you kind of discover different aspects of public health as you go through it. So make sure you're addressing that. Why Brown? You know, what is it about our program that has really compelled you to want to apply? And then there is an application fee. It's $100. Sometimes there's opportunities to get that waived. So that would be something that you'd want to talk to one of us about as enrollment coaches. We can help guide you with that. And then if you're an international applicant, you may be required to submit proof of language proficiency. Again, on a case-by-case basis, talk to us. We'll help give you some guidance in that regard as well. But once you get all of these items submitted to your application and it's considered complete, we immediately send it over to committee to start that review process. So you don't have to wait for certain like deadlines along the way. This is rolling admissions. And typically speaking, committee will give you a decision in about 6 to 8 weeks, sometimes a little sooner, but 6 to 8 weeks is typically the turnaround time for their decisions. And as Sparky had mentioned earlier, you can see at the bottom of this slide some key application deadlines. I am astonished. We are at the end of March already. I feel like I blinked my eyes and we are already here. So not a whole heck of a lot time left to get your application done. This is specific to fall. So fall applicants, please take note. May 1st is our priority deadline. June 1st is the final deadline. We won't accept applications beyond that for fall. That's about all I can think of at the moment, Sparky.
Okay, well, that's plenty to think about for right now. So appreciate you, Kim, walking us through all of that. So it's about time for our Q&A. Before we do that, just a plug for our next Online Masters webinar coming up at the end of April, answering the questions of why Brown, why online, and why now. Obviously, we've gotten some great answers from Kenzie and Christian today, but we'll have other folks sharing their perspective as well coming up at the end of April. So let's go ahead and dive into our live Q&A. If you joined us a little bit late, that's perfectly fine. Just click or tap the Q&A icon on your screen and start with your question. We've already gotten a handful of questions in there already. And so before we get into some of the new questions, I want to go over some of the questions that were that have already been asked and answered, just see if there's any more perspective on that. Aspect of it is different from obviously the online bit provides for that flexibility for working professionals, since that's primarily who this program is designed for. And in terms of different from a normal MPH, Christian talked about that generalist point of view, right? This idea that you're not necessarily specializing in a particular area of public health. It's a real generalist curriculum so that you can get a lot of foundational, fundamental knowledge to prepare you for a leadership role in whatever area that you want to pursue. We've talked about the asynchronous bit. There are those synchronous parts where you get to meet up with other folks, but that asynchronous, it's not, I think it's a perspective shift of, I'm doing this all on my own. And again, it's that flexibility piece, being able to know far ahead of time, hey, here's what this program looks like. Here's what I have coming up in front of me, and I can manage my time accordingly to help make that happen. So appreciative of the answers there. And again, there was a question about age range of students. Again, this is meant for working professionals. And so we've got a good range of people with wide professional experience, anywhere from 20s to 40s, even some into the 60s. The sync sessions, typically weekday evenings, 1 hour long. Again, they're always recorded. And so if you miss out on one, if you've got a conflict, you're able to catch up on that after the fact and really dive into that. And then, of course, getting in touch with professors. Kenzie, appreciate your answer there. Each professor has live office hours. They can connect with folks one-on-one. So thanks for all the questions that we're getting in already. So let's start with more of the questions that we've got coming in the hopper. First one I see is, would it be feasible to do this online MPH while being an internal med resident? Obviously, every situation is going to be a little bit different. And so, Jen, I saw you unmuted. So talk about that work-life balance and just what kind of commitment it takes for a student to, be able to be as much in this program as possible and to really be successful.
Yeah, so I would first check, like, great question, in terms of being a resident. So it's beyond like there's a federal law around, like, you can't be enrolled in 2 full-time programs. So there's that. So just so if you're a full-time resident, then you can possibly do the online MPH as doing it part-time, right? So just think about hours. Well, we estimate about 15 to 20 hours per week per course that you would dedicate to homeworks and to, reviewing material and to watching the lectures and the modules. So it's just planning that out. Most important, again, is to have 2 years work experience, at least 2 years work experience, and to showcase that in your CV. But again, it's just, and Kim, I just want to really clarify, there is a federal law or guideline around you cannot be fully enrolled, right? It's full-time students in 2 programs in the same year. Is that right? I think.
Yeah, I believe they certainly wouldn't be able to apply for funding through FAFSA.
Yes.
So when I actually had this discussion with somebody just yesterday who was trying to see if they could do 2 programs at once, and basically they have to either pay out of pocket for one and get federal financial aid for another. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of that just stems around funding, to be honest, Jen.
Okay.
All right. Great insight from both of you. Thank you so much. The next question also talks about, I think, kind of school, work, life balance. Is it hard to do the ILE, integrated learning experience, while working full time? And so again, I think everybody's perspective is going to be a little bit different depending on, well, what does that work entail? But I'll open it up to the group. Any perspective, any more perspectives beyond what we've already said about fitting this program in with, in this case, especially having a full-time job in the midst of it too?
Do any of our students want to answer that?
It's like Kensley unmuted. What you got, Kensley?
For me personally, with the practicum component of the program, I was able to partner with a lab at Brown, and they work around like my schedule, and I'm able to get my hours of experience through that. So for me, I really had to like research different opportunities to see what would work best for me. And it is a component of, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, 145 hours total that you'll have to obtain before the start of your last semester. So right now, since I am finishing in the summer, I'm finishing up my hours now. So it really is, if you're able to get an experience that works well with your schedule, I would say it's very doable. So I have been able to fit in the time to get my hours for that practicum while working full time and still being a full-time student.
Okay, fantastic. Krishna, I saw you unmuted. What else do you have to add?
Yeah, I can share a little more of my experience as well. So with the practicum, or the applied practice experience, APE, I was able to partner within my department at work at the Brigham and Women's Hospital to collaborate with faculty there to do a language equity project, and that's what I'm focused on. So it actually meshes really well with my my work that I already do for my job. So I'm able to actually use some of the time I spend at work to actually help out my team and also work on the practical med school. That might be a rare case. I don't know. I know other students will partner with other organizations, like your example, Kensley, another lab. So it just depends, but you can definitely start doing the hours pretty early on in the program, at the end, near the end of your first year or right after it in the summer there. So you have time to space that out. The ILE, I saw a question about that in the chat. We're going to do that in the summer during our final semester between June and August. That's one of the two courses, I guess, that would be we would be completing during the final semester in the summer. So I think balancing that with work would be similar to how we're balancing what we're doing now in our coursework with work. So it'll probably look similar, but it's in the form of a paper that we'll be completing to complete the program. Yeah.
Okay, right on. Thanks, Christian and Kenzie. Let's stay on the prep longer because I'm seeing more questions about it. I'm seeing a question from Mishta. Do students have to secure their own practicum? Is it usually in person? Let's expand on that practicum a little bit more, just because it is such a key component of the program. So Jen, I saw you unmuted, so I'll start with you.
So we do have a field placement coordinator, and I think our students would agree that Brenda McCure does an amazing job of helping to secure a placement for you and going through the process of securing an internship or a practicum. Some of our students decide to do that in their place of work, but but use the 145 hours to complete a different task in at their current job. Others are, this is a time when I would say this to students, like, if you are curious about a public health challenge or a public health organization that you currently don't work at, this is the time to test that out. It's 145 hours. It's an internship. This is where you can kind of figure out if that is the next step in your career. So yes, we do have staff in place to help you secure that practicum.
Okay, fantastic. That is great. Thank you for that. I'm seeing, let's talk about financial aid, because we talked about, the tuition and competitively priced tuition. It is still a graduate program. We haven't talked, I know there are financial aid options that are available. We haven't dug into super deep. One of the big ones are those merit-based scholarships. So Jen and Kim, if you can tag team a little bit more about the merit-based scholarships that are available, and especially helping students get in. The earlier they apply, the sooner they can be considered for those scholarships. So Kim, I'll start with you, and then Jen, anything else you'd add about those scholarships, the process? Help fill us in, please.
Okay. Yeah, perfect. So actually, I'll just jump into the financial part first and then talk about scholarships. But basically, as Jen had mentioned earlier, each course is $5,200. So 12 total courses, you're looking at $62,400 by the end of the program. Now, students will use a variety of ways to pay for school. So some people have a great employer who offers tuition assistance or tuition reimbursement. If you don't even know, please ask your HR department and find out. It could be a very valuable resource for you and help cut the cost of your expenses. Some people will use federal financial aid. So one thing I want to clarify for you guys is that the way FAFSA works for undergrad versus grad programs is very different. So for undergrad students, a full-time student is typically 4 classes or more. At the graduate level, it's actually 2 classes or more. So just keep that in mind. So the way that it's structured and the way that Christian and Kensley have been going through this, they've been technically full-time students at the graduate level. If you are looking more for part-time, that's the 1 class per semester. So again, this is something that myself and the other enrollment coaches can really get specific with you on your particular needs, your particular situation. So federal financial aid is available. Some people don't want to take out loans. That's great. If you can set up a cash payment plan with the finance department, by all means, fantastic. My understanding of that is you would do 3 equal payments over the course of a semester. And then just to highlight the merit-based scholarships, because I'm sure some of you, or if not all of you, have seen notification of that. So these are merit-based. They're not need-based, but they're merit-based scholarships. And committee takes a very holistic approach when they're reviewing admission or application packets for admissions and for those merit-based scholarships. And so the scholarships will range from 20 to 30 to 50 to 100% in some cases. If you are awarded a scholarship, you're told at the same time you're told of your admissions decision. So you're not waiting on one piece after another. You get it all up front so you can make the best decision for yourself. Now, this Jen can definitely go into more details on this, but not everybody's going to get a scholarship, right? So some people will, some people won't, and that's the range. But the nice thing is committee is absolutely going to let you know up front if you've received one or not, and then you can move forward with the best decision for yourself.
Exactly. So just to thank you, Kim. So to add to that, I am a big proponent of looking at applications from a holistic perspective. So in your personal statement, please tell us, why are you passionate about public health? How do you want to serve others, right? I think that's really critical and important. Also, we have students that have talked about, maybe they didn't do as well during their undergrad, but over time they did better. And so you can share with us, like, what happened? Maybe, something happened that may have impacted your GPA, and that's okay. We'd love to read about that. And then when Kim brought up earlier about your letters of rec, yes, who is writing those letters of rec to support you? I mean, unfortunately, a few times we've seen letters of rec where there's 1 or 2 sentences, and that's very unfortunate because we really do take the time as faculty to read through those letters to see who is supporting your application. So again, choose wisely. And then some students or applicants have also put an addendum or put a supplemental, some supplemental material, just again explaining, yeah, maybe I didn't do as well during undergrad, but over time with my work experience, and this is what I've done. And that's great too. We would love to read that too. So just know we look at applications from a very holistic perspective.
All right. Thanks so much, Kim and Jen, for your perspective there. I know I've seen some questions, and a handful of you have helped providing answers already, but I saw questions about kind of the curriculum and the courses. It's a generalist program, so obviously a variety of courses on a variety of topics. This is where Christian, Kenzie, I think I'll lean into you in terms of just talk more about the curriculum and the courses. In terms of whether customization or how this case-based learning has impacted you and what you anticipate your futures are going to be within public health. Christian, how about I start with you? You said, when you started, you weren't sure what area of public health you were going to go into. As you've progressed through the classes, how has that helped shape your vision of where you want to go once you graduate?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's really been enlightening for me to kind of take that journey through the different pillars of public health and learn the different foundational knowledge that I need to know to make that informed decision and just learn about the field as a whole. I think really early on in the program in the fall of 2022, we started off with biostatistics, so we got an exposure to that, and that for me that was new. For example, learning statistical programming, like using R, and then we moved on later to learn epidemiology and gain a lot of foundational knowledge there. Now I'm actually in Dr. Nazareno's class for structural and social determinants of health, which is really where my passion has always lied in working to advance health equity. And I'm also passionate about digital health, so combining those two. So it's been really helpful to be in this course too, to really continue to grow that passion. We're also doing public health evaluation right now. So that is another major path you can take if you end up being passionate about that, or you're already passionate about it, so you get to be exposed to that in this program. I think for me, yeah, I think all of the courses allowed me to just learn a lot, but also like rule in and rule out what I really liked the most. So definitely, I think the more statistical part of it, I actually like a lot. So taking that into a digital health equity space for me is something that I'm passionate about doing in my future career. So I think there's been a number of courses that have allowed me to explore that more, including public health leadership. I mean, I think that's just vital. I think leadership as a whole and the skills you need to be an effective leader in your organization, whatever type of organization that may be, is something you also gain within this curriculum as well. So it all ties in and they're very integrated. So it's been great.
Fantastic. Thanks, Christian. Kenzie, same question to you. How has the curriculum and the courses that you've taken, the things that you've learned, how has that impacted your trajectory moving forward?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I do agree with Christian. It's a very, generalist program. So you do get a lot of insight from all of the very different aspects of public health. For me in particular, coming into this program, I really thought that I would continue with the epidemiology route because that's the space I was in beforehand. But personally, I think that this program has taught me a lot about my interests within public health, just from taking all of the different coursework. And now I'm leaning more towards social and behavioral. So that's what I've decided to continue in the future as I continue with my education after this program. And also, I would say that I think that this program is very unique with the leadership courses that we have. So if you are in the space where you want to be in a more leadership position within public health, I think that the courses that we have in leadership really do help you with that space and help you grow as a leader in this field. And I think that we've learned so much from that course personally.
Okay, right on. Thanks so much, Kensley. Appreciate that. Looks like we got an application question. So Kim, I'm going to turn this one over to you. Sounds like someone is planning, graduating from undergrad, still encouraged to apply because they have the work experience, but it's not post-baccalaureate. So Kim, maybe let's get some clarification here. Let's help this. Let's get some answers here.
Okay, yeah, perfect. So the nice thing is that committee does not require it has to be post-bac work. As a matter of fact, I have had the privilege of working with several students who were a little bit older, who maybe had all of their work experience prior to starting or even during their undergrad program. And so they applied immediately because as soon as they graduated, they'd meet all the requirements. So don't worry if it's not post-bac, that's okay. Committee will still review your application packet just the same as everybody else's.
Okay, right on. Thanks, Kim. Appreciate that. We still got time for some questions if we don't already have some in the chat. In the meantime, Jen, I know you've been feverishly typing in answers to questions. Any answers or any questions that you feel are good to recap your answer for the broader group based on kind of what you've been responding to in the Q&A?
Yeah. I think again, look through our courses, right? So we are a generalist MPH. And so some questions have like, are you offering some pharmaceutical or pharmacy courses? So I would suggest going into looking at our accelerated masters in public health for clinicians program. So because again, we don't look specifically at clinical applications, right? So if you're a clinician, whether a pharmacist, a nurse practitioner, a physician, a PA, like if you're looking for that type of implementation science specific to clinical practice or clinical service, I would suggest looking into like more clinically based MPHs. In terms of like, what do I do with an MPH, right? So like, I've written, and I hope my students know this, that I will write every letter of recommendation for you all. I think because we have very strong students. And so some of our students go on to be directors of programs, get into the digital healthcare space, get into nonprofit orgs, get into the policy tanks. Because if you look through our courses, we teach healthcare policy, 2 courses around healthcare policy. We teach 2 courses around leadership. We teach a course on communications. Healthcare communications is also very critical to public health. And then, our other core courses around interventions, evaluations, all really critical skill sets. We do quantitative and qualitative analysis. We also, for my class, really focus on the structural and systemic issues related to health inequities. And so again, I would just encourage you to look at our coursework. Those are our core courses. We do not offer electives at this point. So the 12 courses you see, those are the courses you will take to complete your MPH degree with us in the online space.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks, Jen. And just for clarification, so Mishta mentions on our admissions microsite, we have a list of the courses. Where can folks go to find those in-depth course descriptions just to get filled in a little bit more on what they're going to learn?
Yeah, we have our School of Public Health website, Brown University School of Public Health website. You can look into our courses there. But if you want to email me or Kim, happy to get into even further depth about giving you course descriptions.
And I'll just piggyback on that, Sparky. So here in the enrollment department, we actually have a really comprehensive email that we send to everyone who inquires. And there's a link that will link you to the courses and the course descriptions in there. So often, unfortunately, those get overlooked perhaps, or maybe we've not, been able to connect with you yet, or you haven't come through our system, or whatever the case may be. But certainly here in enrollment, we have that available for you guys too.
All right. Thanks. Thanks for that, Kim. Just a couple last questions. That clinical-based MPH, that's not available online. That would be a campus-based program, right, Jen?
Correct. So I will say that about 15 to 20% of our students are clinicians. I will say that they are looking for more a generalist MPH. Those that actually, if you look at our AMPH, that is much more focused on clinical trials, research around being in that intersect clinical work with academic research. So that's like, so again, get into the details of each of our programs. But I will say we do have dentists, we do have physicians, we have nurses. We have it's a vast number of clinicians, but I will also say it's very interdisciplinary. So we have folks in the healthcare tech space, we have attorneys in the program, we have CEOs in the program. It's really interesting, and we love that we are attracting such an interdisciplinary group of working professionals, and we do think that it leads to a lot of discussion that really in our sync sessions that are really interesting to hear the different perspectives based on the industry that you're part of. So just wanted to make sure I shared that we do have clinicians in this program as well.
Absolutely. That's great. You talked about that intersection between health and tech. Seeing a question about digital health topics. What role does that play? Whether it's in this specific course mentioned in the Q&A or just kind of throughout the program, what's that intersection between this program with digital health?
I'm going to have Christian talk about his background in digital health.
There you go.
Sure, yeah. Well, specifically with that question, I think that the intervention course, if I recall, and yeah, that's interventions at the local, national, and global scale. Um, yeah, in that course, we learned so much about like how to develop and implement interventions. So like learning how to build a logic model, a budget, etc. We've did focus a lot. I remember on infectious disease. Um, Programming at the global health level, which was really interesting, like malaria, HIV/AIDS, and um, so that was I don't recall specifically going into like digital health intervention development, but I think the foundational principles of intervention development apply definitely if you're also developing like something in the digital health space. So I think it really connects well if that's what you're passionate about. Myself, I work in the health informatics and digital health space, so developing patient-facing mobile apps and clinical decision support tools, for example, for different populations, people with multiple chronic conditions, and some other populations. So what I've learned in the program kind of I can take when I do, I think that like I want to do more public health type work to make sure that digital health technologies are more accessible to underserved populations. So I think the principles that we're learning in the courses will definitely serve me well as far as leadership and intervention development, et cetera, to be able to do that work in my future career. And maybe I'm missing and forgetting, but maybe we did do, some technology related coursework that I'm forgetting, but yeah, I think it just connects well because you learn the foundational principles really well. And I think whatever you're passionate about, you can kind of apply it there. Or, reach out to, faculty that are doing that work and reach out and talk to them and see what kinds of projects they're doing and see if you can get involved, maybe for your practicum or or maybe the ILE even at the end.
Yeah.
So there's opportunities. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to re-emphasize, thanks, Christian, is that will be a Brown University graduate student. So you have access to our other organizations, our other departments. Like, for example, we have a grad student that is interested in Medicare and Medicaid, and wants to really focus on the gerontology population. So they're doing their practicum with our gerontology center at the School of Public Health. I have another student that is interested in entrepreneurship. So we have a Nelson Center for Entrepreneurship at Brown. So then us as faculty and staff will connect you to those individuals to see where there's opportunities. As a Brown graduate student, you have access to these different resources across campus.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. And Kensley, if we could just piggyback off of that, what's a time when you, being a Brown online graduate student, what's something that you've had access to, or how have you taken advantage of that Brown difference, and how has that impacted your experience?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. I think for me personally, as you heard, you do have access to everyone. So I think for me, with the practicum in particular, I was able to find faculty in the social and behavioral health department that I was really interested in, and looked at their research, connected with them, and was able to start my practicum experience with them and their lab. And with that, I think the fact that you're able to just communicate and have those resources readily available for you, depending on what you want to get into after you complete your MPH, they really do open a lot of doors for you moving forward. And there's a lot of opportunities if you want to connect with career coaches, or even visit like the portal to see like current job openings. You can take that route as well. So I think for me, just being able to have access to so many different resources has really helped me, and really fostering a lot of relationships internally to personally help me. I am going to be starting my PhD in the fall, so I was able to make a lot of connections with different departments to help me figure out personally the route that I wanted to take moving forward.
Congratulations,
Right. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Congrats. So, all right. Well, we're coming up on top of the hour, and I don't see any new questions in the Q&A. So let's go ahead and wrap up. So just a reminder of those fall 2024 updated upcoming deadlines. So priority deadline, May 1st. Final application deadline is June 1st. Classes start September 4th, so just right after Labor Day. And so again, we've got a phone number and an email address there. Please reach out to Kim, to your enrollment coach, to get whatever answers about your specific situation. We're happy to answer whatever questions that you have along the way. Thanks to all of our presenters today, Christian, Kim, Kensley, and Jen. Thanks to all of you for attending, for all your great questions to move the discussion forward. And please reach out and get in touch with us so we can discuss your specific situation more and do what we can to help you start Brown's Online MPH this fall. With that, I'll say thanks again for your time and hope you have a good rest of your day and week. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.